Morning, it's Steve from Seaside Allotment. So it's that time of month again. Time for a tour of Jennie's plot. If you remember, we got this plot, I don't know, probably about a month ago, and it wasn't in the best of condition, but it wasn't too bad. Gave it a good dig over, shoveled in, 100 barrel loads of mushroom compost and horse manure. Put a bit of chicken manure pellets down as well, and it's coming on. I'll show you what we've got done. So here we are, very unlike my allotment, but you can see we've grassed this area. It looks pretty good from this angle, but if you get a bit closer you can see there's quite a few patches, and I've hand weeded the worst of those patches to get the nettles out. I particularly wanted to get the nettles out while they were small and weren't stinging me, and I put some patching grass seed mix down to fill the gaps. But it's not looking bad. I'm hopeful that by Jennie's birthday in a month's time we'll be able to go on it. So I've just planted these. These are my rather ragged looking courgettes, and these are butternut squash with one cucumber in the corner. I've got most of the cucumbers in the greenhouse, but I thought I'd leave one outside just to see how it went. And this is runner beans. I've gone for a variety that's a cross between a French and a runner bean, so it's stringless. We had a bit of a problem last year that just couldn't keep up with the runner beans, and so quite a few of them went stringy. I've actually planted dwarf French beans down the centre as well, in the hope that we can squeeze in an extra crop there, and they are just coming up. So I was a bit worried that I'd taken a risk planting them in the soil rather than planting them in the greenhouse, but as you can see they're all coming up, so I'm pretty happy. It's worth the risk. And then we've got another set of runner beans down here. Well, I think some of these are climbing French beans actually. Can't remember. Cobra, so I don't know what they are, can't remember. Anyway, a good selection of climbers. And then we've got another frame over here which John built, which is just waiting its canes. I think that would climbing peas. We'll go on that one. And we've got some peas here and some more peas here, which aren't doing too great. When we planted them, it was just the gales were horrendous, and they just got so battered around. In fact, that's why this grass is all patchy, because when you put grass seed down and then you have weeks and weeks of gales, basically the grass seed just blows around into all the hollows and all the hillocks. Although it's reasonably level, there are hillocks and hillocks, and so you get an uneven seeding. So I've done a remedial seed, but anyway, there we go. It is what it is. So let's just continue down here. So we've got a whole selection of brassicas in here, and you'll notice all of the roofing tiles holding down their collars, and that's because every single one of these collars blew away in said gales. I've managed to find most of them, but this time I've put tiles down. It makes me wonder, because I didn't quite have enough tiles, whether I might as well have just done tiles and not bothered at all with the actual collars, and then they definitely wouldn't have blown away. We've got some autumn fruiting raspberries here. In this bed here we're going to have sweet potato, which is currently at home. We got slips from Marshall's, I think it was, and they were really rubbish, but they are just about surviving. So these are my very late planted potatoes, King Edwards I think in here, and these are the ones that were planted last. These were planted earlier, but still really late for potatoes, and they're only just starting to surface. In fact, some of the beds haven't surfaced at all, but we are getting a little bit of life. So I guess everything will be okay. I mean, I planted some potatoes in July for Christmas potatoes, and they ended up doing really well, so I'm not really worried. It's just nice to see things growing rather than bare ground. I've popped some broad beans in here. The broad beans on my plot are ready for picking. In fact, we'll be picking them probably tomorrow. I really want Debbie to pick them, but unfortunately she's poorly in bed with vertigo, so just holding off on that. And then these were some more broad beans planted from seed, not in particularly straight lines. I did think I planted some here as well, but obviously not, which is pretty good because then I can put some peas in there. So kind of pleased that nothing's come up there. And we've got some onions these were from plugs in the garden, and they were looking really ropey because I didn't have anywhere to plant them. Unfortunately, then we got this plot, so we popped them in, but they seem to have survived okay. And these onions from sets, planted really lately, but really late. 3 sets of those, and they seem to be okay. And then some more brassicas here. I can't actually remember what's what in this brassica bed, apart from that is curly kale, and there's broccoli and colettes. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure which ones are which, but they're all looking fantastic. Now you notice I've got no protection on this bed, and so this is just an experiment. Last year the kale that I had unprotected did better than the kale that I protected. Both did okay, but the one that was just unprotected did really great. So this year I'm trying all Jennie's plot unprotected and my plot protected, but I am taking a bit of insurance out that I'm spraying these once a week with a soil bacteria that apparently kills the caterpillars. So we will see whether that is worth the effort or not. And what else have we got? So this bed unfortunately is a bit of a mess, but it's just getting time to do something about it. But that said, it doesn't seem to matter that much. I've given it a good strimming. There's lots of ground elder and bindweed and all sorts of stuff in there, but the apples and the currants seem to be doing just fine regardless. And that's, I suppose, all that really matters for this year. So I'm pretty pleased. These are all eating apples, which I'm very excited about because I love apples and currants. So there we go. Now this area here is just a mess. It's kind of a holding area at the moment. We don't want to do anything with it because we've got these wonderful I forget what they're called, I'm so tired at the moment, whatever they are. They're really lovely and we were looking forward to eating them, so we didn't want to move them, but this isn't the ideal place for them because they encroach right onto the path and we're constantly knocking the leaves off. So we do want to move them, but not until they've cropped. And so the shed, oh god, the shed was such a mess. It was just cobwebs and rotting vegetation and, you know, just spiders and earwigs and everything everywhere. So I've given it a massive clear out, 4 bin bags full of rubbish took out yesterday. Unfortunately you can still see the odd little bit of cobweb up there, but I mean that is just nothing at all by comparison with what it was like. Anyway, it's all cleaned out now, just a little bit of remedial work still required on it, but I'm really pleased with this shed. It is really great and it gives me a great place for growing on that's not quite as hot as the greenhouse but still gets loads of light. And if I build some little tinfoil rear reflectors to go around the seed trays, I think this will be just great by comparison with the greenhouse. The problem with my greenhouse is, like most greenhouses, it just gets too hot. Unless you're down every day watering, it's just a bit too much. I think this little shed, which is very nice and bright, will do just fine. So there we go. That's the end of the May tour of Jennie's plot. Hope you enjoyed it.